So first and foremost, congratulations on your first couple sales. There's definitely nothing more exciting than getting a couple sales under your belt, and then looking forward to the question of, um, how do I make more sales? Looking around at other shops and what they're doing, specifically the question of copying listings, different titles, different tags. Does that work? And so, I think Etsy doesn't really ever tell you what makes up their algorithm or how it really works. But I think we can assume that, and again, the analogy is if you're fishing in a pond, do you want to fish with one rod or 100 rods? And I think in this case, that's kind of where having more than one listing, copying listings, really is an easy way to grow your shop, grow your listing, grow, you know, access and sight to your products when people are searching. And so I personally think it's a great idea to copy listings, and it's just an easy way to do it. And so if I go and look at my shop, for example, um, my most popular listing would be the Fairview. And so just doing a simple search. So in my store, I have 125 items, but probably I'd say, let's see, 53, there you go, are the Fairview item. And so you can kind of see here that all of them are the same item, except I'm using, for the most part, different lead pictures. And so um, I'm a big believer in, copying the listing, changing, if I go into the listings, um, changing the title here. I'll tend to change the lead image here. I will go down and change the description here. And so I will not change my item specifics because that will never change. So if you do that once and then you copy it, you can feel confident that it's right and done the correct way. So it's description, it's the title, and then the tags down at bottom. And so these three items, when tied in together, and what I mean by tied in together is, are your tag words woven into your description and then also in your title. When they work together, there's a better chance that Etsy will pull them when somebody does a search. And so, how do we get these tag words is really the start of this. And in the past, um, before we had different E-rank tools and other tools, the easiest way to do it, and it can still be done this way, would be to go into the search and start to search for items and words that you think would be good matches for your product. So if, in my case, I'm looking at address plaques, I would go up into the search title and I would start to search for address, and I would start to write it out. And as I'm typing it, you can see Etsy is already starting to kind of whittle down their best picks based on other people's search. So, 5, 10 years ago, this is exactly how I would have done it. You can still do it this way. You can kind of follow through to see, what comes up when you click those. And so in this case, you can kind of see all the other examples. And then what I would do from here is I'm looking at number of reviews here. So in this case, this is my own store, but you can see I have 2,600 reviews. This company actually has 30,000. This one has 6,000. And so these are good indicators that these stores have been around for a while. They have products that sell and they're doing something right. And so if I were to just pick one, let's say we'll pick this one here. I would be looking at the title, what words they're using, I would go all the way to the bottom and see what searches that Etsy is recommending. So these would be important words I would use. I would take them, I would copy them, I would bring them back into my listing, and I would use them as new words in the tags. And so the easiest way to start this, though, is to open the listing up and just hit copy. That's it. So once you copy the listing, now you know you have a new listing. Now all that info is going to copy over, so this is where we would change it out. And then I would start by using these new words, filling them into the tags, and then I would work backwards to include them in the description and then also in the title. So this is definitely the toughest way to do it, but it's a good way to do it. And it kind of gives you a good idea of how I would have done this in the past. The new way, and I think this is get you there quicker, and I would highly recommend this way, is to get this tool called eRank. And so, eRank does a ton of awesome stuff. It'll let you look at your competitors, their products, their sales. You can take some really deep dives into what other people are having success with, how many sales people are making in a day, what items, what words they're using. But for just this purpose, I would say we would be using this listing optimizer. And so from here, I would go into AI Listing Helper. And I would start at the top here where it says enter a short description. And here is actually where I would just drop in the tag words from a previous listing. So let's say you've already created a listing. You have your tag words here. Take them, Control C, drop them in here, and then I'd hit submit. And so this is one way you can just quickly make an easy listing. And as you scroll down here, it's going to give you 3 different title ideas. So I'd copy one of the titles. I'd read through the descriptions quickly just to make sure they're correct to what your listing is. I would copy the description in. And then down here, it offers you additional tag words based on searches, clicks, click-through rate, competition. And this is actually how I would then make the next listing. So I would then take these words and I would copy them into my new listing tags. I would drop them down here. Then I would copy these tags, go back into eRank, and then drop it into the top here. And I would start the whole process over. And so that to me at this point is the easiest way to create a new listing. And if you are going to try to put your fishing net out there and catch as many fish as you can, you're going to want to have as many listings, as many different words as possible. And so, Etsy limits you per listing, but they don't limit you to how many listings you can have. And so you can take this all the way up to, in my case, I have 53 listings for one item. You could do 100. I don't necessarily know that there is an answer. Kind of all we know is that Etsy's algorithm is looking for keywords all the time. The end user at this point is getting a new search results page each user every time it searches. So you want to give yourself the greatest chance of getting in front of that person first. And yes, you can use the same lead image, but I would also recommend changing that as well. And so for me and my products, the easiest way that I find is if I go to my reviews, the kind of trick I use is I will use the review pictures from my customers because they're usually some of the best pictures. They're in settings, different settings, so they look different. And I think it gives you more opportunity